Welcome to the Performance Enhancing Podcast. It's like steroids for your brain. A podcast for people looking to live life at their peak potential. Chock full of real-world tools and knowledge that you can apply in your life today. By providing you with a lens into the lives, beliefs, practices, and actions of those who are already living extraordinary lives, the Performance Enhancing Podcast will help you shift your mindset or create that change in your daily rituals and habits so you can explode with success in the areas of life that are most important to you. So get ready for another dose of Performance Enhancing Podcast with SatoriPrime. Here's your host, Ilan Ferdman.
Hello, my friend, and welcome back to another Performance Enhancing Podcast with your host, Ilan Ferdman. And what I've been doing here for the past, I think it was 6 episodes, was a tribute to the one and only Wayne Dyer. And the responses have been absolutely incredible. I cannot thank you guys enough. And what you guys have written into me over the past few days, I think the shyest story, one where I kind of broke down, was a catalyst for a lot of you reaching out. And I want to just read another one. And I'll read these. I think this is a great way to maybe share what others are thinking and introduce you to some other listeners. And I just noticed that when I shared that, a lot of you came out of the woodwork. And it's just amazing to hear what you're getting out of the episodes. So I got this email from Kate McGrath, and she's Emily Thompson's sister. And Emily is actually the one that releases all of my podcasts. So it was like a little bit of a cool family thing. And she wrote, "My name is Kate and I live in New Zealand. I'm Emily Thompson's baby sister, and I've been inspired to email you a million times while listening to the SatoriPrime podcast to let you know how on the button you are. I really enjoy them and love that you are very raw and real. Your attitude really resonates with my own. This was absolutely proven in your reading of Dr. Wayne Dyer's story, and I thank you for that. Of course, that was the clincher to get me to actually sit down and email. Mostly it was because just yesterday I found this word and I just felt compelled to share it with you. I too am a meliorist. We are creating a better future, and I thank you for the role in that." And she sent me the definition, which meliorism is the belief that the world gets better, the belief that humans can improve the world. And then she continued to say, "In January 2013, my husband's youngest sister was beaten to death in a domestic assault. And in the years since then, he and I have been using the pain of that experience to create awareness and change in New Zealand, where the domestic violence statistics are among the worst in the OECD. One of the things that we tell the school kids in particular that we speak to is that feelings is okay. And expressing those feelings is really important. So my gratitude to you is based on your ability to feel and express those emotions openly and unabashed. There's a Maori saying, which I love, and I know you will appreciate, and I won't read you what it wrote because I will probably murder how it sounds, but it's translated into, by discussion comes understanding. By understanding comes light. By light comes wisdom. By wisdom comes life. Thank you for all your positivity, bluff calling, and openness. The world needs more of it. Kate." You know, honestly, the first time I read that, I was probably in tears. I sent it all around to my family and friends, and the response was obviously amazing. It just, you know, honestly, I don't do this for hitting a bajillion downloads, and I don't do this for making money from it. I truly do this because I believe that this is a way that I can make a profound difference with the people that I can somehow reach. And the beauty of online medium and the fact that I have fans in New Zealand and Australia and the UK and Sri Lanka and all over the world it's just astounding to me. And the fact that you continuously listen, I cannot thank you enough. So I will probably keep going back to Wayne Dyer because that seemed to have really resonated with you guys. And I know right before we went to the Wayne Dyer thing, because obviously he passed away and I thought it was really important, I had just shown you the first half of my Using Fear as Your Guide speech that I gave in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I know I left it on a horrible cliffhanger for you where I was just telling you the story about how my house, a gentleman walked to my house and my front door and handed me foreclosure papers and all the crazy thoughts about my wife divorcing me, my son leaving me, losing my house and becoming homeless and living in a box. All of those things were in my head. And I kind of stopped it right when I said, in that moment, I had 2 aha moments. So I know I cut it off as a horrible, horrible cliffhanger, but today you're actually going to get to hear part 2 of that. So I'm sorry that it was long delayed, but I think in the interim, at least from the response from you guys and the comments that I received, it seemed like the Wayne Dyer distinctions and the Wayne Dyer stories have been really, really impactful and timely. I heard certain people were dealing with some really heavy stuff, and it just kind of hit at the exact time. So I would love to keep sharing these comments and emails and reviews that I get from you guys. And I'd love for you not only to email me, but if you can also leave these in iTunes so that other people can read them and see what kind of impact we're leaving on the world. So if you send me an email, just go and copy and paste that into iTunes as well. It'd be amazing. And yeah, I'd love to read them every single week and just share with you who's listening and where they're from. And I think that'd be a really cool thing to start. So now it's time for part 2 of using fear as your guide. I hope you enjoy it, and I can't wait to hear from more of you. So in that moment, I had 2 massive aha moments. First, just like I don't believe you become a father or mother when you have a baby, I also don't believe that by saying I do, you become a partner. So I actually got that in order for me to create partnership with my wife, I had to overcome this ridiculous fear of letting them down, being a failure, not being a supporter, all of these things. And because I was so afraid of actually approaching my wife and telling her the situation that I put us in, the world sent me that, kick in the nuts, gift wrap kick in the nuts. And then because of that, I got to experience partnership with her for the first time in my life. So at the end of all of this, like the pain and all that kind of stuff, I still got one of the greatest gifts ever. And the truth of the matter is, I now can see that for me to get to where I want to get to in life, I need a partner. I believe I happen to pick one of the best partners in the entire universe, but I had to go through something in order to see that as a reality for me. Okay? So that was take number 1. The second take was days after this. People were talking about you go through fear, you feel great. Days after this, I'm buzzing. Can you imagine the weight that was lifted off my shoulders when I got to share this news? Granted, it was a horrible situation, but I felt amazing. And now I knew that not only I had a partner to help me solve this issue. I was no longer on my own. But that had me realize something else, which was, what if we have a choice, moment by moment, to choose and look at areas of our life that aren't a 10 or circumstances and seek out these kind of events? Like, what if I just started seeking out these fears in areas of life that I wanted to grow in, and then go annihilate these fears one at a time? Would I feel the same elation? Would I feel the same relief? Would I feel this growth? And so that's what I did. I basically went and just started experimenting with this. And one of the first times I remember doing this was, a few months after that. We had made our first 5-figure month in our business, which was, amazing, beyond amazing. And I go to my brother, so both of us are like, he moved in with our parents, I'm in this horrible situation with my house, all this crazy stuff. And I said to him, hey, instead of pulling that money and going to feed ourselves, why don't we invest it all back into the business? So I remember I say this to him, and I remember the look on his face, like, kidding me? But, what's up, buddy? But what I remember is the feeling in my stomach. That same feeling that I had when I reached for that door was there again. And at this point, I was like, wait, the last time this happened, what if I just listen to this and we do it? So we had this whole conversation, we invested it, and guess what happened? Magic, right? That 5-figure turned into continuous 5 figures, and that was really the catalyst for our business taking off.
And now what I've done is, and this is what I hope to help you guys see, is I've trained myself. I've trained with this fear muscle, if you will, that every time I feel that sensation in my body, I know that that's the thing that I need to be doing. So whereas before I was just running away from all this stuff, now I listen to it. And the most recent example I can give you is I was at a seminar, and I was in the audience at this time, and this guy was speaking. For those of you guys know, Joe Polish. And he was speaking, and he was talking about his 25K mastermind group, and I had this feeling. I got inspired. I was like, oh, I should do this. That sounds amazing. And then the stomach thing happened. And I was like, damn right. Now we're definitely doing it. Because the way I've kind of altered it in my brain was, if you can imagine a kid, like when their dad wants to leave or mom wants to leave, they like cling onto your leg, like, don't go, don't go, don't go. That's kind of how I imagine what happens in the body. So when you're going to do something really scary, imagine your ego as this little kid just trying to hold you back. Now, why are they trying to hold you back? They're trying to hold you back because on the other side of that is something unknown to them, right? On the other side of that is something like a way that you can find out how your ego holds you back, or a way that you can reprogram something. So they're terrified of letting you do that. So as soon as I felt that, I knew that that's exactly what I needed to go do. So point is, what you want to do is, when you have these choices, instead of running away, you turn and face these fears. And yeah, I picked this image on purpose because that guy is freaking terrifying. But sometimes that's what these fears look like, right? Our brain can do amazing things to make the world seem a very specific way. But the whole point is, if you can seek these out and you can train yourself to use them as your guide and then go out and annihilate them, that's how you will reach your next levels as quickly as humanly possible. So, one thing I want to tell you real quick that I missed is, you want to get to know what your body does. You want to get the physical sensation in your body. Like my brother, for example, he feels choking. He'll actually feel like someone's choking him. Other people that we've spoken to, you'll get super sweaty, like your body would just turn into a puddle of water. Other people start shaking. You just have to figure out what it is that has that trigger in your body. So, let's see where we are. Okay. I want to get a little nerdy with you guys and talk about the science of what actually happens in the brain so you guys can understand, so it's not this like woo-hoo-y concept to you, okay? Who knows what the brain's only job is? Anybody? That's it, survive. Your brain's only job is to survive, and it's really good at it. You know how I know? We're all here. That's it. A human being's brain, that's its only actual job. So it's great, obviously, that it helps you survive. The problem with it is that it hasn't adapted one iota since the time of creation. So when we were out in the jungle or wherever, right, and a lion was coming out at you, that's a good time for the brain to be like, run the other way. This is scary. We don't want to die, right? Or kill this guy if you're like a really badass caveman or something. So science has actually said that our genetic profile hasn't changed at all since we were created. So what does that mean? Now we live in a world, there's no lions coming out of the jungle to try to kill us. But to the brain, it does not know the difference between real threats and perceived threats. So now they can hook up our brains to like all these machines and see what fires off in the brain. So to the brain, someone coming at you with a knife or pointing a gun at you is the same as you losing an argument. So to the brain, this is crazy, losing an argument is the equivalent of death, which you can kind of now see like why people are so adamant about arguing for their positions in life. So the other thing that you want to understand is that your brains are lazy. So yes, they have this incredible function, but they're lazy. And what do I mean by lazy is it takes a lot of effort and energy to walk into every situation and have it seem new. So the way the brain shortcuts all of this is it catalogs everything. It catalogs every moment, every person, every situation, every memory, every pain, every victory, everything is cataloged. And anytime you walk into a situation, you don't see the situation as what it is. When you guys walk into this room, it's not like, hey, this is a new room. If you've been here at a talk before, everything that has happened in this room, like that's what your brain brings up as catalogs. And it just fills in the gaps. Right? So there's very little room for all that kind of stuff. Now, who remembers, I like to learn visually, so I'll give you guys a lot of like visual examples. So who remembers back in the day how we searched for books in the library? You remember what it was called? Yeah, right? Dewey Decimal System. I actually called it the Dewey Decimal System because I was really big into like those ducks. But that's kind of what the brain is. It's this massive catalog, like millions of times bigger than this. And what it's synced to is, you can imagine like Google, if Google search was psychic, like it knew what you were going to do before you did it, and that's what it does. It just pulls up these card catalogs given these situations. Now, I want to show you a quick video of, and hopefully the sound will work, of how this kind of plays out. This light switch. Yeah, let's see if that looks better. All right, so this is basically when people are hooked up to these machines, this is what happens in the brain when you experience a certain memory, okay?
When any stimulus enters the brain tries to understand it based on previous experiences. In early life, powerful or traumatic events create an imprint on the brain, a pattern. This pattern is like a shortcut, activated every time we face a similar situation. For example, if we were once attacked by a dog, our brain might harbor a set of these pathways that associate that dog with all dogs, making us fear them in general. We might even react adversely to a distant bark. Repeated events cause these neural patterns to reinforce their connections, binding them with protein and building them up like scar tissue.
So I want to paint you a picture of how this happens, okay, visually. So imagine you're 5 years old, okay? Your life is damn near perfect for you as a 5-year-old. And your parents come to you and try to tell you that they're getting divorced. This is what I call, in a 5-year-old or young kid's life, a holy shit moment. Like, this is the world that you knew is no longer existing today. And what happens in the brain, obviously it's cataloged, okay? So now you have this thing that you carry with you everywhere. So, I mean, I don't know if we have room to do it here, but you can imagine like every single event in your life, you now carry that event with you. And wherever you go, that event goes with you. So like if, you know, like the equivalent of a chair and you're just like hauling around a chair. Now the other part that happens, which is even worse, is this. You put on a pair of glasses with a new view of life, like a new perception of how life is to you now. And you'll make up something like, there's something wrong with me. Because you're not going to make up really good stuff when your father leaves you and you never get to see him. So there's something wrong with me, or never let people in that I love, or I'm not lovable, and things like that. And now you go on in life. Now the one thing you want to understand is that as you do this, I know this sounds like super traumatic, but as you do this, you forget. How many of you are skiers or snowboarders or whatever? Okay. But you could do this with any pair of glasses. Do you know when you put on goggles, that first like 3 to 5 minutes, the world is, you know, orange or red or yeah, whatever your color your lenses are. And then within what? 3 minutes, 5 minutes, the world is perfectly normal. Now, I'm not saying that in 3 to 5 minutes you forget this stuff, but could you imagine, like, over time, you forget that you put this stuff on. You forget that you made this stuff up about yourself. And this is how it just continues on. So you're in elementary school, you're really smart, you raise your hand, teacher asks a question, you say it, totally wrong, everyone in class laughs at you, massively humiliated. Again, huge memory, now you're carrying this thing around, like, okay, now I'm humiliated and not lovable. And then you put on another glasses with something like, never put yourself out there like that, or even worse, I'm stupid. And then we move on. Now you're in high school, and you're in that like puppy love, relationship, the first love of your life. You know the kind of relationships where we're like on the phone for hours? Like, you hang up. No, you hang up. Okay, on 3. I can hear you breathing. Like that kind of love. And then you find out a few months later that he or she, whoever it is, cheated on you. Massive heartache, right? Now, at first, here's what's funny about that kind of stuff. At first, you're actually mad at the other person. Then something switches. And over time, you start thinking that you somehow, like there's something wrong with you. Like you deserve this somehow. And you'll say again, never trust men or women again. I'm not good enough. I'm worthless. And again, another pair of glasses and another thing that you're carrying with you. And then fast forward a little bit, you get out of college, you get your first real job, you're super excited, you tell everyone, and the boss calls you in the office one day and goes, hey, you know that project that you've been working on? Yeah, you cost the company tens of thousands of dollars. We're going to need you to pack up your stuff and go. And your brain just goes, failure, you're such a freaking failure. And again, another one of these things. And so over time, every single one of these situations, every single thing that has been a trauma in your life is always being carried with you. And you end up like walking with all this weight and all these views of life. And that's why, remember when we said earlier about what happens when you let go of this stuff? You feel really light, right? You let it go and you feel really, really light. So now I want to just basically walk you through, let me see, survive, yep. And then again, you feel lighter, we covered that. All right, so I'm going to give you like a really good visualization that's been amazing for students that we've taught this to. This is just a great little reminder. So when you walk into any situation in life, you actually think that you're this adult version of you. You actually think that it's you walking into the situation. Now, given what we just learned before about carrying all this stuff and having all these filters and all this stuff, what actually ends up happening is that when you walk in, you look down to your right or left and find this 7-year-old version of you. Now, the 7-year-old version of you I'm just using as an example because I think it's cute to think of, a version of you like dressed like that somehow. But it can be anything. Basically, wherever that program happens. So, if it's humiliation, it's like the first memory of when you were humiliated. If it's the first heartache, it's the first. And what we actually do is we look down at this person and we go, hey, so I'm about to walk into a negotiation room or I'm about to, do a speaking event. How should I act? And this terrified person who's had all this trauma in their life will look up and you go, don't do it. It's so scary. Why would you go do that? Last time we did this, we got so humiliated. We got so heartbroken. Why would you do this? And then you listen to this thing. And we do this completely unconscious. You're not aware that this is what you do. But when you start to realize, like, the situations that you walk into, this is how you actually function. So all of these things are walking through the door. Now, how many of you actually have children? Okay. Would you ever ask your child how to act in an adult situation? Would you like open this door and look at under your son or daughter and say, hey, listen, I'm about to give a speech. How should I respond to it? How should I be in that situation? You wouldn't. That'd be crazy, right? So that's a great way to kind of always check in on who's entering the room. Is it you with all this other crap? Or is it the adult version of you? All right, so, skip one. Given that, like, if that was the way that we work through life, could you just start to see how, or why I should say, the world sometimes is a really scary place to be? And I'm leaving aside the fact that media just pumps us full of fear nonstop. But to a 7-year-old, it would be really terrifying to walk through life, right? Like in all these adult situations. Now, there's something really incredible that's happened. Does anyone not know what neuroplasticity is? All right, no? Okay. So neuroplasticity real quick, and I'll give you kind of like the easy one. The changing of the structure, function, and organization of neurons in response to new experiences, and then strengthening or weakening of nerve connections or adding new nerve cells based on the outside experience. So said it in another way, it's the ability for our brains to completely reprogram ourselves. And up until recently, they believe that your brain at the age of 23 to 25 stopped. Like stopped growth, which would be really bad for a lot of people. So I want to now show you another quick little video about how the process works to actually reprogram. So let me just do that again.
This hyperactivation enables the conscious part of the new brain to temporarily override previously entrenched patterns, allowing new connections to be made. Dogs, for example, may no longer be feared as these new connections are created and memories reevaluated.
All right, so I just want to bring this back full circle, and then we're going to do this ridiculous exercise. So what happens physiologically in the brain when you overcome these fears is you're actually breaking up these neuronal patterns. You're breaking up patterns that served you maybe as a scared child and actually upgrading them to be worth to you now as the adult, right? Like in the situations that we're going after today. So the way I look at fear is, if you want to feel that way, okay, and we now know that you can reprogram your brain, if you can start using fear as this aim of how to find these 7-year-old conversations or how to find these old patterns that no longer serve you, that's why attacking your fears is so powerful. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. So I want to leave you with this one quote, and then we're going to do this exercise. So Amy Larson wrote, "Running from fear is not courage. Courage is leaning into free fall of the unknown. It is confronting fear by encouraging those relationships and situations which might bring it to the surface. To face them boldly with bulldog determination, and you'll bring it on again and again and again." So if you want to achieve that, you're going to have to face your fears. If you want to achieve that now, what would you have to do? Conquer a fear, right? So what do you think is the number one, well, I should say the number two. Do you know what the number one fear is for human beings? Public speaking. Yeah. Number two, death. Yeah. Yeah, number two. Seinfeld said it best. He goes, people would rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy at the funeral. Which I thought was really funny. So, what you want to do is, you know what, I'll give you these questions after. Let's do the exercise. Okay. All right. So, okay. So we need to overcome fear, and we need to overcome death, right? Like that's the second greatest fear. So here's what I want to do. Can you actually go help Rachel? So we're going to do something that is going to scare the shit out of you right now. Okay? Rachel and Fanny are going to hand you out a piece of paper, which is a waiver that you need to sign, and they're going to hand you out an arrow, like an archery arrow, and we're going to break these arrows with our neck. With our neck. No, we. I'll show you, and then we are going to do it together. So, okay, check in with yourself right now. How many of you heard that and were like, there's no fucking way I'm doing that? One excited. Okay, cool. Here's what you want. Here's what you want to get, though. No. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're not going to just break it with like our neck like that. We're going to break it with the softest part of your body. This part right here, under your Adam's apple. Okay? It was great. Just seeing your faces right now is precious. Look, here's the point of this whole exercise.
Wife's a lawyer.
My wife actually made me do it.
Has the waiver always been part of this exercise?
No. The waiver's always been part. Look.
This is the first time it's happened.
I'll be completely honest with you. As the waiver, like I actually think the waiver scares people more than what. Like if you just got an arrow and you're like, we're gonna do this. It's like okay. I remember the first time I did this, they sent out the waiver, and I remember sitting there and I was going, they're not actually gonna make us do this, right? Like we're just gonna read this. It's just a point. But yeah, they made us do it, and it was one of the most amazing experiences. And here's what you want to get. I would like you. Did you just break one? We have others. Okay. Here's what I'd like you guys to do. On the arrow, just write like a phrase or a word or something that has to do with the fear that you want to break right now. So remember that area in life that I said like you want a massive breakthrough in? So just write anything that is stopping you. It could be one word, it could be a sentence, just so you have that image in your mind. And oh, can you do me one other favor? In that bag back there, there's these like plates. No, bows. We're gonna shoot these at your neck. There's just plates and we're gonna need them. And then I'm gonna need a volunteer. No, I actually had Rachel. I was going to bring them on an airplane, and I was like, Rachel, I don't know if I can fly with these things. What if we just ship them here? Well, you're going to help me break it, and then we're gonna break. You guys will break up into groups, and we need. How many people are we here? 33. So let's do like let's do groups of 5. Yeah. We'll do groups of 5. Okay. Who wants to help me break this arrow? All right, so here's what's going to happen. You're going to want to pay attention to this. Otherwise, that waiver is going to come in handy. All right, come here. Okay, so the person holding this, you're going to do it as partners, okay? There'll be like 5 or 6 of you in a group. The person holding it, all you need to do is basically be the wall for that person, okay? So just one hand behind, one hand on the side. The person breaking the arrow, which is me in this case, so you hold that. Okay, so a little higher. It doesn't matter. Okay, so this is what it looks like, okay? So you're going to put this right here. You're looking real pale right now. Look at him.
If you die, it's going to be quick.
Yeah. Okay. So here's what you're going to do. Look, if you half-ass it into fear, you're going to get killed. Yeah? If you like kind of attack a lion or you like kind of attack a situation, you're going to get mauled. The way to do this and do it right is you want to so straighten out your arms. So yeah, exactly. So just full force. Just step into that shit. And it, like that. Okay?
Thank you for joining us on this week's Performance Enhancing Podcast. We've taken this pep talk and created a custom action guide so you know exactly what action steps to take now to grow your business. Just head over to SatoriPrime.com/podcast and download it for free. Also, please leave a comment and rate this podcast on iTunes. It'll help us get the word out. Thanks for listening. Now, go and implement. We'll see you next time.
Did you run through doors till you hit the floor? Did you read my eyes and my aching thoughts? Did you walk through walls till you had to grow? Oh my God, your smile and my soundless calls. see